And there we are. We are live for the town hall here for Podpage. Joining me is the CEO and founder of Podpage, Brenden Mulligan. Brenden, I will let you take it from here, buddy.
Can you all let us know if you can see us?
Yeah, it's going.
Right now I'm on YouTube and I do not see this streaming.
It's, yep, it is.
Okay. All right. So there's a delay. I see.
There is.
Okay. Hey everyone. Sorry, this is a new platform and we're just giving this a try. So both Dave and I, especially me, is getting used to it. All right. Thank you so much for coming. We had done these in the past, but it's been a little while. We've been heads down building a bunch of stuff, and the goal is for us to start doing these on a monthly basis. So hopefully this is the first of many, and we'll send out and we'll post when the next one's going to be, probably this week, so everyone can get this on their calendar earlier. Let's talk about today. So I'll talk about the agenda for today. The goal of this is really two things. It's to show you what we're working on, what we've just worked on and what we're working on next, and then hear from you and do Q&A. That's it. We do other events, and Dave does a Podpage orientation on a regular basis, and Dave's available for live support. There's tons of opportunities to learn about the product and ask questions about how the product works and get your questions answered around like your website. That's not really today. Today, I want to tell you the features and stuff we're working on, the problems that we're trying to solve for you, and then hear from you on what you'd like us to work on next. So it's really more about like the platform and the features of the platform and the capabilities of the platform, and not so much about your specific podcast website. We should probably add some links into the deck next time, and we can maybe post them at the end of this around like if you need help, how to get help for your particular website. So I'm going to show you what we worked on recently. I'm going to show you what we're working on next, and then we'll leave it open for questions. About me, for anyone who doesn't know me, your P is backwards.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe then the hat because of the.
Yeah,
that's funny.
And Stephanie wants to know, where do I get a hat like that? So.
I'm Brenden. I built Podpage 6 years ago and have been working on it ever since. I have written the majority of the code for the platform. Up until a year ago, I did the majority of the customer support. I think I've replied to 30,000 customer emails. So heavily embedded in talking and listening to you, and that's kind of how the platform has evolved over time. One of the first people I showed it to was Dave, and I was new into the podcasting world, but I had a kind of an idea of how to solve this problem. And Dave helped me with saying, "Oh, well, you should do," I forget what the first things you said was, but
probably does it integrate with PayPal?
PayPal. I don't know, but there are also like these very nuanced things that only like when you're building a website for a business or a hardware store, there's a set of problems that are sort of generic that you need to solve. But when you're building for podcasters, it is so uniquely specific because the RSS feeds are all the hosts have their own unique specific spins on the RSS feeds, and the content is all specific. And so an example would be if you're building like a generic website and you want someone to play audio, there's just a generic audio player. But the way that Podpage works is we said, well, we don't want to get in between the listener and the podcast. And if the podcast has chosen Buzzsprout, one of the reasons they might have chosen Buzzsprout is because they like the Buzzsprout media player. So if on their website, it should show the media player of the host that they use versus just a generic media player. 5,000 lines of code later, that's possible, but it's stuff like that. It's always about like these nuanced needs of the podcasting community that make the product really fit really, really well for it. So anyway, part of learning that is the 30,000 customer emails and just talking to you all over the course of the years. So let's talk about what we've released recently. We've been on a tear, releasing a lot of stuff kind of quietly, and we've announced a few things in Pod News, but there's a lot of things that we've just pushed out and we haven't really talked about. So Let's talk about the recently released. Now, these are things that if you log in today, you can use. They're live in the dashboard. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm actually just going to jump into the dashboard and show them to you. Some of these they're not that cool to show, but at least I'll show you where they are. First thing we did was we added built-in GDPR. And so for anyone who doesn't know what GDPR is, your experience with it is probably something that has frustrated you, which is every website you go to, you have to click the dumb cookie banner. Ultimately, that it's something that the European government put in place to help people with privacy. At the end of the day, now everyone just hits the button, and it's not really helping much. But it is important to have it. So for years, we've offered a way you can add this through your own CookieBot or Termly account. It's been on the Pro plan. Earlier this year, we did two things. One, we launched our own version of this. And two, we made it available for all plans, because this is a legal thing. It shouldn't be gated by a more expensive plan. So if you're in the basic, pro, or elite, anyone can have access to this now. To find it, you go into your dashboard, you go to settings, and you go to GDPR compliant. And there's this new option at the top, which is just a toggle that says turn it on. That's all you have to do. You don't have to go to your CookieBot domain. You don't have to go to Termly. These were really brittle. If you had the wrong ID, it would break the website. Now all you have to do is turn this on, and it's automatically on for the website. So that is available for everyone. The other thing I should mention as we go through this is I'm going to be running through this. I'm not looking at the chat. Dave's going to look at the chat and flag questions and stuff, and we'll do questions later. Dave, if there's anything that's critically for me to stop and do right away,
everyone is sharing their love of Podpage as you were talking about it. Everybody's just like, I love Podpage.
Good.
So good. Thanks for that. We appreciate that.
Second one probably doesn't affect a lot of you, is WordPress migration. So I should have built this years ago. It's kind of a nightmare because WordPress is kind of a nightmare. But our goal is to make it easy to migrate someone who has a WordPress page that they've had for a long time, but they really are annoyed by, onto a platform that they're excited about. So we actually used Dave's School of Podcasting as the demo for this. One of the reasons was because obviously it's easy to work with Dave, but the second is
it was a mess.
Yeah, it's easier for you to say than me to say. It was a mess, and it was enormous, right? We're not talking about like a new podcast. We're talking about podcasts with over 1,000 episodes. We're talking about someone who has had 1,000 affiliate links over the years. Yeah. We're custom pages. You have 50 different custom pages doing different things. It was a nightmare, but it was a good stress test to try to migrate the content. And so we released that earlier. If you have someone you know who's been wanting to move to Podpage because they like your website, but they've got a WordPress site that they don't want to leave, it's really amazing. So it pulls over all your blog posts and makes them blog posts. It pulls over the blog posts on WordPress that are actually episodes, and it'll compare them with the episodes from your feed, and then it will set up a redirect from your old episode URL to your new episode URL. So like for Dave, I think you had 1,200 posts, but when we pulled them over, we only imported like 150 posts because they were actual blog posts. The rest we were like, oh, these are episodes, so we'll just forward them over there. We import your custom pages, we import your pretty links, and we basically make it so when you move over, there's no dead links, there's no lost SEO, and your content all comes over and you don't have to do anything. So for anyone who's been on the fence with us around WordPress, or if you know anyone, this is really great. We're doing it as a white glove service at this point. You work with Dave and I to move your site over. So it's great. And like I said, we did this with Dave, and this site is the enormity. Oh, the other thing we did is like we automatically categorized episodes depending on his top topics. Like, anyway, all this came over. We have, I'll talk about it in a minute. We track the 404s, which are the dead links, and there really aren't any. The migration works really, really well. So that's our WordPress migration. 6 years too late. Navigation nesting. This sounds like a teeny little feature, but I think it's the #1 feature request over the last couple of years. The way that Podpage has always worked is you can add links to your navigation, and your navigation bar becomes massive if you want to add a lot of links, or if you have a page that has a long title. And for the most part, they've all just been single links. And so earlier this year, we added a way to now you can take any link up here and you can embed it underneath another link. So here you can see here, this is the about page on the School of Podcasting, but this is the About Dave Jackson page, and then this is the contact page. This seems dumb, but you could never do this before. And it was a huge nightmare to write this code, but it makes this so nice because you can have just a section for free resources, and you can add a lot of custom pages. This is his blog that is under the free resource page. These are custom pages. This is a system page. So it's really great because it's going to make websites look better, because you won't have this massive long navigation bar. In your dashboard, if you to get to this, you just go to design and you go to navigation bar links, and then you can just drag these around. You can drag them in. The other improvement that we did here, we used to have a section called navigation links, and then underneath navigation labels, and you had to go to these different places if you wanted to change the words. Now, if you want to change the words, you can just click this and rewrite the word and hit save, and it's done. So the navigation bar has gotten way easier and way more flexible. And again, it's like, I wouldn't have thought that was as big of a deal without talking to so many users and having Dave say to me every month, well, the navigation bar is still a top feature request. So we're excited to roll that out. While we're in there, we added a little convenience feature. If you have, it might have been, if it hasn't been a while since you built your site, what you probably experienced when you went to design the site is you came in, you said, I want to edit the homepage, and then you edited that, and then you had to go back and go to the episodes page. Then you had to click page edit, and you went, okay, now I'm gonna edit. It was a lot of clicks to just edit your site. Now, whenever you're in the page editor UI, you can just tap the top here, and you can choose a different page to edit. So right now I'm editing just the colors, but if I want to say, oh, I want to go edit the about page, I can just click the about page and it pops me over there. Small, but if you're in here a lot, it should save you a lot of clicks and a lot of time. And I apologize, that's taken a long time to get in there. Site language. This has been a big one. And I have a sense that this is a very targeted feature, obviously, but you can now convert your site into another language. So we have a lot of podcasts that are French podcasts, Italian podcasts, Hungarian, Polish. I forget some of our beta testers for this, but you can now just go in, and if you want it to be in a different language, you just click in whatever language you want. This doesn't show the list, but if you click English, you can just pick it, and it automatically will just convert all of the pod page strings. So things that say like recent episodes, that will become whatever that is in another language. We don't touch your content. We touch the hard-coded language that is already on Podpage. So
we have a request. Can you zoom in on your page? Yeah, just make it like, go up to whatever it is, Command plus to zoom in.
There you go. Is that better?
I was trying to make us smaller. I could just while you're talking, if you want, I can just maximize the page screen.
Well, that should have just zoomed in, because I went from,
yeah.
Dave, look at this. I went from this.
Yeah, that should help.
To this. Okay.
So Dave's Fit Life, hopefully that helps.
Cool.
And we're getting some feedback on navigation. They said, so navigation nesting shows up like a drop-down menu for subpages. Nice. So
yeah. All right. So that's language. If there's anything specifically that you want me to go back and show with the tighter page, let me know. It's good learning. Auto linking. So we announced this probably in January, maybe February. And this is a more advanced feature in the Elite set. But if you're on the Elite plan, we do a lot of SEO analysis and SEO work for you. And one of the things we do is you can assign, in order for us to analyze a page and know if it's going to do what you want it to do from an SEO standpoint, we have to know what you want it to do. And when you release an episode or create a custom page or whatever, blog post, it's good. And this is a Yoast SEO thing back from the WordPress days. We need to know kind of what your target keywords are, and including your website. Like if you have a specific set of keywords, we need to know that. If you have a generic set of keywords, we need to know that. And then what we do is we look at the content on the page that you have set the keywords for, and we say, is this page have what it needs to have for Google to know that these are the keywords that you're targeting? So for example, if you do an interview, if Dave does an interview with me and he wants the keywords to be my name, well, we're going to look at the URL. We're going to look at the page title. We're going to look at the page content. We're going to look at the first paragraph of the page. We're going to look throughout the whole page and know, is Dave telling Google that Brenden Mulligan are the keywords that he wants, as opposed to Podpage Founder, right? Like you kind of have to fit. You have to pick, because you can't just beat everything to Google, right? You're always targeting certain keywords, and so it's a practice that, again, Yoast SEO, which is a great plugin for WordPress, this focus key phrase of like, what are you going after? And so what we added earlier this year is, once you set that key phrase, you can turn on the ability for that key phrase to be linked all over the rest of your website. So here, an example would be, let's say you're doing a fishing podcast and you wrote about like fishing in Colorado last year. You did an episode, and in the episode you said, oh, I love fishing on the Colorado River. That's one of my favorite places. And then this year you release a new episode specifically about the Colorado River. And you say the focus key phrase for this page is the Colorado River is going to be the key phrase. Well, we will automatically link Colorado River on every page on your site that you've ever mentioned it. So that old blog post will automatically have a link to the 1 year ago, will automatically have a link to the new blog post. You don't have to do anything. And so it essentially, this allows that web of internal linking across your website to like automatically turn on. And if you do want to go and add links to an old blog post, you don't even have to go and add a link. You can just go add the key phrase, just go pepper it in wherever you want, and it'll automatically link for you. So this is it's a really good best practice for SEO. And we've made it really, really easy to do across your website. So that came out, I don't know when we did that, last year. For anyone who hasn't seen that, this is sort of the SEO analysis example. So you're going in here, this is a school podcasting episode. And the key phrase is podcast shortcuts. And so we've gone through and we've made sure that podcast shortcuts is throughout, okay, it's in the URL. Its key phrase is in the URL. It's in the H1 title. It's in the SEO title. Like we go through and do this analysis. And now anywhere on the entire School of Podcasting website, which is vast, if Dave has ever said the words podcast shortcuts, it will link back to this episode. All right, so that's everything we've released over the past 2 months of the year. Maybe I'll pause here, Dave, and if there are any specific questions about what we've
done so far, yeah. So SEO, oh, that's my answer. Somebody asked basically this Autolink, is that a pro feature or an elite feature?
Yeah, so the Autolink is a elite feature. We basically, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, the elite plan tends to be, there's going to be a lot more heavy-handed SEO sort of like advanced tooling in the elite plan. Sort of like if you're on WordPress, the Yoast SEO plugin, the premium one is a paid add-on. It's kind of like the same theory here.
And then we had a question about the WordPress migration. My biggest worry is my pretty links, but I'm really interested.
So the WordPress migration, I mean, so in Podpage, there's a feature called short links, which is the same. You basically set up small links that you can link to anywhere else. And so we take your pretty links and we just convert them to short links. And it depends on the pretty links plugin. You have categories. We allow categories, so you can have some categorization. So we pull in all of the same content. So you're basically, all of it's still linked over. And Dave is an example, like all of his pretty links just are short links on his pod page now.
Yeah.
If that doesn't answer the question, let me know.
Yeah. So you basically export your pretty links, you give it to us, and then we import them, and you're good to go. And keep in mind with the migration, we're bringing over your data, not so much your design, but it's, as you've seen in Podpage, it's super easy just to tweak the whole site with colors. And now with the new navigation, it's really cool to get it looking the way you want it to. So we have other questions, but we're going to save those to the end. Those were the ones that were related to what we've talked to so far.
All right, cool. So let's talk about some stuff that's coming soon. First one I kind of mentioned earlier is 404 tracking. And so this is what we found was people were worried when they came to Podpage that they were going to lose their old traffic, especially sites that have been around for a while. This is typically people who were more focused on SEO, retention, and all that stuff. This isn't really relevant for new websites that are built for the first time on Podpage. And what we find is a lot of times, like the way that our different pricing tiers fall, it's like the people who tend to be like bringing over a bigger site are typically in that higher, the elite area, and they're really concerned about SEO. And so they want all the extra tooling. So this is a feature that does that. So this is in Dave's one. Basically, if any link, not any link, but because there's a lot of junk links and a lot of scrapers that'll come, just test a bunch of links. We try to like keep the noise down, but what we're looking for is places that you might have had on your old website that are 404ing on your new website. And so this report, this is a real live report for School of Podcasting. These are links that are dying when they hit the new website, and we're going to show you where the links are coming from. So Dave is actually internally linking to podcasts about podcasting. Now, these are links that probably what we learned with Dave is there was so many dead links already on his old page that he didn't even know about, or just typos. I mean, the amount of typos and stuff that we were able to find because.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, because you weren't getting these reports earlier.
Yeah.
So we fixed a lot of stuff. But here, there's 92 times over the past, I think the past 7 days that someone or something, could be just a scraper, clicked a link somewhere on School of Podcasting that goes to podcasts about podcasting. And so instead of going back and fixing all these on the website, or if these are external websites, you don't have an opportunity to fix it. Now we make it really easy. We tell you sort of your biggest things. You can click redirect. We're going to look across all your content on Podpage. You're going to try to find a page that is somewhat about this.
Yeah.
And I think, Dave, I think this was an old custom page that you don't have anymore.
It's if it was, it would say the never-ending list of podcasts about podcasting.
Yeah. So right now there's nothing. I'm not going to do.
Right.
I'm not going to pick one, but Dave can go in. There's some tags, troubleshooting your iTunes podcast listing. Let's see if any of these. Sometimes it's like an old slug for an episode. We try to give you confidence on what we think it might be. And then you can just click, set it here, redirect here, and we'll just automatic. What we do is we create a 301 redirect, which is right here, that forwards the traffic. And so if you look at the fixed ones, just as an example, like the old path, podcast coaching and consultation, now it's just podcast consulting, or podcast newsletter is now it's podcast newsletters. This was a typo.
Yeah.
And so these are just ways that you can forward. You can also ignore them. We haven't done any yet, but there just might be ones that you don't care about fixing because there may be things that are actually pages you removed. But this should make it a lot easier just for site health to fix all these errors. Coming soon is Search Console. Oh, by the way, this technically is released. I think I released this yesterday. We haven't announced it. There's still some work to be done on it. But if you're an elite member and you go into settings, you'll see 404 tracking. Coming soon. So Google has a search engine console, and there's ways that you can validate your site, your Podpage site, and see stuff about your site in search engine console. We're working on a much tighter integration where we're going to let you basically connect the two, as opposed to have to go over to search engine console and verify. You're going to basically connect Google, and then we can pull some data. So we'll have better insights on what Google is actually indexing and what it's not indexing. And then we can provide some guidance on maybe what you can do to have pages indexed. Because what we found when people do the search engine console integration, or like connecting, is Google will just say, oh, we're not indexing a bunch of these pages. And the people come to us and say, well, why aren't these pages being indexed? And what we end up doing is looking at the SEO analysis that we're already doing on the page. And we're like, oh, well, the page doesn't have enough content, or it's missing something, or whatever. Because a lot of times you're creating your content for Apple and Spotify, not necessarily for a website. And they're just different priorities. And so this is going to bring us a little closer into being able to really understand your indexing status. Same thing, speed test performance. I probably almost as much as every feature we've worked on, we've been working on optimizing your websites to be faster, to load faster, to be more efficient this year. I didn't really want to go into all that because it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff and it's not particularly interesting, but speed scores have gone up a lot this year, and we're going to start tracking them and showing them in your dashboard. But also because we're going to be tracking them, we can start saying like, oh, it's slowing. Why? Sometimes that's a bug on our end. Other times that's because you added some different widgets that might be slowing things down, and we can start giving guidance on that. So the goal here is to figure out what's going on and proactively be fixing it. For anyone who has communities on Circle and Heartbeat, we're working on some integrations there. We have a whole way of, you can add courses to your pod page right now, but a lot of people have courses on Circle or courses on Heartbeat. They've already entered all the information there. So we're just going to make it easy to be able to click like import all your events, import all your other stuff in. And then kind of to sort of close on, there's a bigger project that is that a lot of this is related to and ties into, and it's kind of using, but I'm hoping to roll out in the next month or two. And it's the Podpage assistant. So AI obviously is the buzzword right now. Everyone's integrating AI into their different products, and we looked at it and we said, all right, well, what's the AI integration for Podpage look like? And there's a lot of good you can do with AI, and there's also a lot of sort of slop that you can create with AI. And so what can we do that's actually helpful to you and your podcast? And so we said, all right, we're building an always on assistant that will constantly be looking at all of these things that I've been talking about and either fixing things proactively for you or making suggestions on how to fix them. And so that's going to happen when episodes are imported, and it's going to happen over time. And so we'll do continual SEO analysis. This has been a big feature request from our elite customers since we introduced SEO analysis, which was like, can you fix this for me? Like we say like, hey, your title doesn't have your keywords in it. People said, well, can you just, then they have to sit there and figure out what a title would look like. They just want us to generate a title that does. Or they say, what keyword should I be focusing on here? And so some of the early betas of this is when we import your episode, we actually listen to it or read the whole transcript. And then we come up with suggested keywords, suggested SEO title, SEO metadata. We automatically categorize the podcast into one of the categories that you've set. Or if you don't have any categories, we can build a bunch of categories and then put all your podcasts in categories. This is helpful for SEO because it lets Google see, thematic topics throughout your podcast history. There's a lot of manual tasks that a lot of people have to do right now, like going and getting the direct link to Apple or getting guest biographies and all the stuff that it will do for you. One of the coolest things that we're working on is a lot of people, not everyone, like Dave is not a good example of this, but a lot of people will write pretty brief show notes for Apple and Spotify. It's just like a quick show notes with some bullets. One of the main reasons that pages are not indexed on Google when they're on Podpage or any platform is because if there's only like 150 words on the page, Google doesn't really think it's a worthwhile web page. It's just Google likes to see usually around 800 pages or 800 words. And so I've had people who write a blog post that is similar to their episode. The blog post is the thing that gets indexed, not the episode page. And they always ask me why. And that's because their blog post is a bunch of content where their show notes are just like bullets and their sponsor links. And so what we can do is we can listen to the whole episode. We can look at the show notes you've written, and then we can expand your show notes to be blog post worthy. And all of this stuff you can turn on and off. You can choose to review it. You can choose for us to just publish it automatically. It's kind of whatever you want, but it's going to drastically make your life easier and make your site more indexable to Google, because we're going to be looking at what they're wanting, not necessarily trying to like hack what they want, but things like, hey, they're not indexing this because it's only 100 words. Why don't you just replace it with this? It's going to be able to do all of that, and it's going to kind of live behind the scenes doing this all the time.
So we got a couple questions on this. So Ralph says, does this mean that I will not, and again, right now this is a future feature, but will I not have to have my team do the SEO corrections each day?
Correct.
And then
now, so let me this is tricky, and this has actually been the hardest part about building this. To Ralph's question is, in the perfect world, we get everything right and you don't have to do anything. And you could, I think there will be a mode where you can just turn on like hands off. You trust us, we'll tell you what we did, and you can come in and fix it if we're wrong. And hopefully we won't be wrong very often, right? And so in Ralph's case, yes, like the SEO stuff will come in. We will automatically look at what's wrong with the page and we'll just fix it for you. And you can come and tell us if it's, and you can sort of not have, your team doesn't have to do anything. We probably would say that it's good to review it, although the AI stuff is so good now. But because one of the areas that could be problematic, we're going to listen to your whole episode. We're going to figure out what keywords you should be targeting. So in my example before, a Colorado River example, let's say it's an interview with Dave Jackson about fishing on the Colorado River. We might think the focused keywords for that episode is Dave Jackson. And if we think the focused keywords, that means we're going to build the whole SEO strategy for that page around Dave Jackson as the focused keywords. You might look at it and say, no, the focused keywords are Colorado River, not Dave Jackson. And so if it's totally hands off, we might just get that core fundamental like that wrong. And then everything else that follows would be not what you wanted. And so you can come in, you can say, no, I want to change the focus keywords, re-optimize the page, and then we can do it. Those are the areas that like we have to figure out what the right settings are, because I want to make sure that we don't screw things up for you. But I think from all the tests that we've done, it's going to be pretty awesome. And so my goal would be, like my goal has always been, and Dave, you remember me talking about this when we first met, is like a podcast website should be a set it and forget it thing. Like your focus should be on writing, figuring out what your next episode is going to be, doing great interviews, creating great content. That's where your focus should be. The website should just take care of itself. And so we're taking all of the things that people are still having to manage on their website, and we're trying to make it so they take care of themselves. But it will be still important for you to actually review it. So. Yeah.
Another quick question on this. So are you saying this would replace something like Castmagic, which creates a transcript and show notes?
So it could, but if you think about where Podpage sits after the episode's published. And so we can't create show notes before, like the way that it'll work is you'll go to wherever your podcast host is, you'll upload your stuff, it'll go into your feed, we'll get it. And if you don't have a transcript, we will listen to the episode and create a transcript for your website. And if you want to, you can go and copy and paste that over to your feed. But just remember that we exist after publishing, not pre-publishing. And so there's not going to be a way to go to Podpage and upload an audio file and have us do all this. That's just not where we sit. We sit after the publish moment. But if you like what we've done, you can always copy and paste it back over to your host if you like that. But the focus, like, I don't know what the right sort of strategy around show notes is for Apple. That's not something that I think about ever, because we don't focus on publishing to Apple. But I do know that on a web page, show notes should have a certain form. They should have structure. They should have headings. They should have a table of contents. They should have key takeaways. They should have cute like FAQs. Like there's all kinds of stuff that you do for a website. So when Google looks at it, they can index it. They can present it really well. And so I don't think it would replace Castmagic. And I could be wrong, but I feel like who replaces Castmagic, and actually I'm not familiar with how Castmagic works. But if there's a service that all they do is they take your audio and they create transcripts and show notes and all that, I kind of feel like your host should do that, considering that's where you're uploading your audio. So no, our goal isn't to be like, oh, we've got this service that you use before you publish an episode and then you take our stuff and move it. Our stuff is still post-publish. So,
well, since you brought up pre and post publishing, I cannot find the question, but someone asked about updating the preview URL. That's that feature that you put in. It was Beekeeper. I'm scrolling through these and I thought I pinned it, but it's the one where you can set things up And so that when the episode comes in, it will use this information. And you may not know this. Like if you want a pre-made URL, like I use Captivate, if you go into Captivate, there's a spot where it says, what website address do you want this to be? If you put the full address in there, Podpage will use that. So the future URL feature kind of isn't really, I don't want to say it's not needed, but you can do it without it.
Yeah.
But they were
we'll probably remove the future URL feature at some point because of that.
Yeah, because they were one. I cannot find it. I swear I pinned it.
So just to be like to really like touch on this, what Dave's saying is that when he publishes to Captivate, there's a section in Captivate that says episode link or episode URL. And what he does is he'll in that area, if you don't type it in anything, Captivate like adds the link to their own website platform that they have. But if he types in schoolofpodcasting.com/Brenden as the link that he wants, when we import that episode, we'll use Brenden as the slug, the URL, because we can see that Dave wants that to be the slug. That's the best way to preset your URL.
Yeah.
Also, there's a place in the episodes interface. So you go to pages, episodes. There's something that says next episode URL. I think it's what it says. Let's see.
We have lots of questions coming in.
Good. That's what this is for.
It is.
Okay. Episodes. Next episode. So in here, if you want, you can preset what the slug's going to be. But like what Dave's saying, the workflow is way better if you just do it in your podcast host. Then you don't have to come to Podpage to do it.
There you go. Okay. Let me know when we're ready for Q&A.
We're ready for Q&A.
Okay. John Germango wants to know, I noticed the big ask, is there a way to have a live page? So if I live stream from Rumble, we have 3 people that have said, can we have a Rumble integration? So if I live stream from Rumble or YouTube, I has the video and chat embedded on a website page. So yeah, so you're embedding you could do this, I guess, manually at this point, just create a custom page, call it live and embed it. I don't know that YouTube creates an evergreen, embed code. Like if I go live today and I go live next week, it's not going to be the same embed code, but I get it that you'd like to have a page that's always live. And when you go live,
well, this would be, there'll be sometimes during this that I will probably say, email us, and go into more detail about how you'd want it to work. And so I'll probably ask that for both of these questions, but the live one, the way that I would imagine this working, if it was possible, would essentially be like, you've got your website, it does its thing. If you go live on Rumble or YouTube, like the homepage just totally transforms into being a live thing. So if you're live, the homepage suddenly is like the top of the homepage is just like a huge live thing. We're live, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's possible. I'll look into it. Because I don't know if we can know that from YouTube, because every live link is different. And there might be a way that YouTube can tell us, hey, they're going live. There might be. So, but that would be how I would think this feature. So it would be like a website takeover when you're going live. So when people come to your website, regardless of what page they're on, there's a big ass thing at the top that says we're live, and it's like makes it easy to watch. Yeah. That's probably what I would imagine the feature would look like. I don't know if YouTube or Rumble do it.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing you said, people are asking for a Rumble integration. If there's more details there, let me know. But yeah. I don't know. We do support Rumble links. Like if you enter a Rumble link into the video fields, it will render the Rumble embed code.
Yeah. And then it's fun being on a 17-second delay, because now we have bunches of questions about the thing you were just talking about, which is if this is all about, because you'd said we're kind of a post publish platform. If I feed you my transcript before I submit my hosting platform, can you SEO optimize it before I post the episode? And then somebody else said, any chance we'll see a return of being able to set up your episode page before the episode And then we had another one that basically asked the same thing. So everybody, maybe just talk about, pre and post publishing and kind of where we fit in, and like, because there are some problems, like even with that, the transcript, if you uploaded us the transcript and then forgot you did it and then sent us an episode that was not related, that might cause an issue where all of a sudden we've SEO optimized for episode number 1 and you switched and fed us episode number 2. Any other thing you want to add to that, Brenden, on just...
We briefly had a feature where you could create an episode prior to it being imported, one episode on Podpage, and you could set up the fields. And then when we pulled in your stuff from the feed, we'd sort of connect that to what you'd already done, and we wouldn't overwrite fields. It ended up it caused way more problems than it solved for the customers, most of the customers that were using it. Because they'd be like, oh, I like the show notes I put here, but the title, I wanted the title to come over, or, and I have to go back and look at our notes. It was like so clear after about a couple months that this feature was making things worse. My hope, so if you're asking this question, feel free to email us again and tell us exactly what you're setting up or exactly the problem that you're trying to solve with doing it first. The question about like transcripts, like we're gonna, like, ideally you're putting all this stuff on your, you're putting all this stuff, and you can probably I can kill my screen share since it just says Q&A, or I'll pause it maybe.
I can remove it, or here, I'll go over here.
You remove it because we can pop it back on if I want to go back into the dashboard.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I would say just like the goal of Podpage is to be not more work. And so once we started designing a feature that caused you more work because you had to now come to Podpage to set the episode up first, it just caused a lot of other issues down the line. And also Podpage is really geared towards, like, if an episode is published, it's everywhere on Podpage. So suddenly now we were trying to manage, oh, well, this episode isn't a real episode. It's a pre-episode. And so like it just started, if you can imagine the code, suddenly this primitive concept was base concept, which is all episodes are public, whether it's in search or an episode list or the homepage or the featured episode, like all these places, suddenly there was this new version of an episode that wasn't public, and that caused a huge amount of errors. And obviously we can fix all those, but it just didn't seem worth it. So I guess let me give us some more info.
Then
I'm hoping the assistant solves a lot of the problems that was doing. Like the assistant will be able to update your show notes, like make your SEO title better. Like I think most people were saying, I wanted to set it up because I don't like to publish the episode and the SEO stuff be wrong. Even though if you fix it, it's not going to kill you on Google if you fix it a couple minutes afterwards. Or they'd say like, I didn't like the URL, but now you can fix that. Like we sort of solved a lot of the problems that people wanted the stuff for in the first place. But let us know. I'd be happy to look into that again.
Yeah, our next popular topic is the network sites. Are we going to be working to improve the network sites since they have multiple shows? It would be great to have more features and options. We had like 2 or 3 of these. Plans to add more. Network page design. I have 2 RSS feeds from Art19 and Captivate. Would love to change some design elements. If you have 2 RSS feeds.
Well, so the network pages, for anyone who's not familiar, network sites are sort of a way where you can have a single brand or single brand style. You think about like CBS.com or Fox 20th Century Fox, I don't know, like TV show networks, where it's like you have a page for each show on the TV network, but it's all under CBS.com. So we have a plan that allows you to have a podcast network, and then all of your podcasts are subpages. The cool thing about that is all of the podcast subpages are pod pages. And so they all have a bunch of features. But the network page itself is limited for design. So yes, I want to do more customization for the network page itself. It's just been a lot of this other stuff we're working on will trickle down to it. So the whole network system and plan I do agree that it needs a big overhaul because it's a few years old. I mean, everything about it has not been, there hasn't been a ton of additional stuff added to the network page itself for a couple of years. So we want to get to that. Frankly, though, like the number of individual pages dwarfs the number of network pages on the platform. So it just ends up being, when it comes to priorities, we end up doing like one of the individual page plan for Elite is now more expensive than the network page plan, which you can have tons and tons of shows on. So the whole product we need to sort of look at and make a big improvement to.
I'll answer this one because it's easy. Billy says, is Podpage designed to be the full source for a creator that has a podcast? Yes. What I love about Podpage is our lane is we make beautiful websites for people that don't want to learn how to code. But if your book, like in Billy's case, is about being happier, that's on Amazon. We can easily put links to Amazon there. If you want to do PayPal or Patreon or Supercast, we integrate with those. If you've got MailChimp or ConvertKit or whoever, we integrate with those people. So we can do pretty much everything you need to do, unless you want to do A/B split testing, blah, blah, like super duper marketing stuff. Yeah, that's, let me introduce you to your friend, Podpage. But yeah, we can definitely pretty much do everything. We've had many people that have started off where they'll do Podpage as a subdomain. So it'll be like listen.mywebsite.com. And then after about 3 months, they go, wait a minute, Podpage does everything. I'm just going to move everything over there. So Megan has a fun, I'm going to write this down as a feature or a future request. It would be lovely to have a directory of all the shows Podpage that are using Podpage, so we can be inspired on how each other are using the platform. So
yeah, I want to add something like this. We talked about this last year and I need to talk to creators about how they feel about this, but sometimes creators really go crazy with the design and make these awesome looking websites. And we talked about last year basically having a button on any website, like a gallery, and then you could just say, oh, I want my website to look like this. And it would just help you, like, because some people are just more creative than other people and do these great templates. So it's basically like steal designs. You wouldn't just take like their artwork and stuff, but some of the way they've set up the episode lists and the colors and the headers would come over, and it'd just be a way to make your site look better. But we didn't make much progress. I started doing sort of these design challenges probably last summer, where we take non-Podpage websites and build a Podpage version of them. And for those, it was going to be like, oh, you can say like, I want this. We didn't turn them into templates, but you could basically say, I want this to be what my website looks like. I want my website to look like Lex Friedman's website, which no one would ever say they wanted because his website is so basic. But yeah, we do need to put a gallery together of some of the best.
And I'm putting a link in, if you want to look at those design challenges, those are on our YouTube channel, which you can always get to by going to podpage.com/YouTube. We had some other questions. I think we kind of addressed this. D Showerman 1 was asking about SEO. He was using Ahrefs and said it appears the blog and subpages are like really great for SEO, but the episodes page struggled to rank in Google and be read by AI and Gemini, etc. And I think you kind of mentioned this. If you're only putting 150 words on an episode, and this kind of ties into Brad's question, which is, hey, if we do both show notes and blog posts based on an episode, are you saying both should be 800 plus words? So when it comes to ranking episodes, if you're only putting 150 words, that's really not much for Google to chew on.
Yeah, I mean, that's so there's a few things. If you're going to write a blog post, a companion blog post to an episode, which I think is a really good idea. I'll go back to the fishing example because that's just what. So let's say you have a blog post about like my weekend fishing on the Colorado River, right? And you have an episode about that, and you talk about the Colorado River, your experience fishing. So that's your episode titled "My Weekend Fishing on the Colorado River." Great. If you write a blog post about that, the worst thing you could do is write a blog post that called "My Weekend Fishing on the Colorado River," and it's just a longer version of your episode page. because now you're putting two pieces of content up that Google's looking at and saying, well, which is the authoritative one of the, I mean, this website has two pages that are the same, which is the one that I should show when people search for weekends on Colorado River, right? The better way to do it would be, and we have a tool we have an AI blog post writing tool, which will basically take your episode, be like, all right, here are some like 5 alternative angles to this. And so one could be like the top 10 spots to fish on the Colorado River. And then the blog post is the top 10 spots, and your episode is the weekend. So, okay, so you have 2 pieces of content that are around the same topic, but serve totally different purposes. Google could index both. When we write a blog post, we write it as a full piece of content that Google would like to consume. So usually 400, 800, maybe more words, because Google wants, like what Dave just said, they want like something they can chew on. If your episode title or if your show notes are just like, Dave and Brenden talk about their weekend fishing on the Colorado River, and and it's like 100 words. Yeah, Google is probably, those are the times where you see things where Google says we're not going to index this, because there's just not a lot to the website, even though it comes with a media player that has a ton of information in the media. Google's just not really going to index the web page that has that short amount of information. So long way of saying, yeah, generally you want your show notes on your website at least to be long, and you want to have headings that Google can look at. Like robots love structure. They love to see structured information. They don't want to have to feed. The more you can spoon feed, the better. And this is actually, we're adding this feature as part of the assistant, which we're going to look at your content and we'll automatically build an FAQ. Even if you don't want us to mess with your show notes, we'll build like an FAQ. Because if you think about when you search Google, think about what you see. Google gives you like a little bit, maybe a link, probably sponsored. And then there's like an FAQ about like, what are the best spots on Colorado River? And when you click that question, it tries to summarize the answer, but then it always gives you a source. And that's because those websites have structured the content to be clippable, essentially. And so some of the assistant stuff is going to be automatically taking your content, even if you have show notes that you're happy with, and still building an FAQ at the bottom of them, and still building key takeaways. That's another big thing that you can do for Google, is say like, oh, here's this giant 400, 800 word thing, but here are the key takeaways. So we're going to start doing all of that for you if you want us to. Again, to make it easier for Google to look at a page and say, what's this page about? What can we surface? Sorry.
Here's one, not really a dumb question. Does putting the transcript in each episode improve SEO? I assume yes. I always say Google likes good words. So if your transcript is good words, and sometimes that's questionable because we don't write like we talk and we don't talk like we write, but in theory, it should help.
It should help. And Podpage will automatically. So some transcripts are long and not perfect, but it's a lot of good content for Google to be able to look at. So I always say yes. If your host makes it easy to create a transcript, 100% of the time do it. When we start with this new stuff, what we're going to do is when we read the episodes, you will have the option to just, if you don't have a transcript service already, you can just have us put the transcript on the page. We put it in a tab, and we do that because if we don't put it in a tab, the page is usually just like overwhelmingly enormous. And that's okay. We've looked at it. Google is fine with that. We also use it's schema, but we actually put code around the transcript to tell Google when it comes to the page and it looks at the code on the page. We say like, this is a transcript. So it knows that it's a transcript. It knows that it's not like part of your blog post. So there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we do to make it very clear to Google what things are. So yes, if you can put a transcript on, do it. If not, we're going to be doing it for you pretty soon.
All right, we're going to step back into the lovely world of networks. Do all podcasts need to be on the same plan? If you go to our pricing page at podpage.com/pricing and scroll down, you'll see a sentence at the bottom of all the tables. Hey, if you're interested in a network, here it is. I always explain networks because it's one plan for all of your shows. Realize that it doesn't have the same amount of features. Otherwise, we'd go out of business and everyone would just get a network plan. I always explain networks as it's a great place to go, and these are all of our shows. Like it's really what it's designed, because there are networks out there that say things like, You know, they won't say their website. They'll just say the network. Everybody's driving things to the network.
Yeah.
So
yeah, to build on that, I'd say the customer for a network plan was designed to be the network owner, not the podcast owner,
right.
Which means the websites aren't supposed to be the podcast's homepage necessarily. They're not supposed to be like, oh, we've got 3 shows. We want every one of these sub pages to be customizable. We want to put custom domains on each page. Like it's a website for a network. And so all of just from an end user perspective, you don't want to be bouncing around the shows and feel like you're on 10 different websites. So all the show websites are the same. So the question is about like, which plan should the shows be on? The show, there are no plans for the shows. There is a plan for the network, and then you attach shows to the network, and they're all there are no individual plans. And the feature level for networks currently is kind of the pro features for an individual. So yeah.
Now we have people that'll have a network to go, and here are all, like AskRalph.com is his network page, but he also has individual subscriptions for his shows. So, because he wants to be able to go, and here's all of my stuff. And so that's what a network page does. Zeta Christian, one of my favorite people, is there an option for Podpage to create transcripts for past episodes? So we're talking now about this future, what are you calling the Podpage assistant? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be able to do past episodes?
Probably, but I need to figure out, this comes down to cost, to be honest, because we have customers like Dave who has, 1,000 episodes. And so there's obviously a cost in generating all of this content for past episodes and, or for each episode. And so if you come in, you say, oh, I've got 1,000, like I'm going to upgrade for a month to the Podpage assistant level. Now do all my 1,000, and then I'm going to downgrade next month because now I've got all the work done. We've got to figure that out. This is just me being honest, because the stuff that we tend to put in Elite tends to be stuff that there is an additional cost for us to do it. It's more work, it's more processing. And so, I've got to figure out what to do about the past episodes, but it should, the goal will be if you're on the tier where we do all this advanced SEO work for you, it's not like we're just going to do it for the episodes you have past today. So I've got to figure out how to do that. There are some things that are the obvious yeses, which is things that we can just do without a ton of processing, that we could do retroactively. There, for example, the SEO analysis. When you sign up for Elite, you automatically get SEO analysis on every page on your website, not just the future pages. But when it comes to creation of all the new content, we've got to figure that out. That might just be something we roll out over time. Yeah. But again, I'll say, I actually don't know how the hosts deal with this, but I still believe the transcript creation should be something that your host does, because you want your transcript links in your feed.
Yeah.
So I would go to your host and ask that question, or find a host that just does transcripts, because it feels like that's where the transcript should live. And the way that we're going to handle this problem is if we import an episode and you already have a transcript, we're not going to reprocess it. We're going to assume the transcript you have is the transcript you want, and we're going to look at that as the sort of source of truth for what's in that episode. If you don't have a transcript, then we'll transcribe it. But
okay, the questions keep coming in. This one's an easy one. Am I able to speak directly with and work with someone from Podpage to see what plan is best for my podcast goals and structure? We love some guidance on setting up correctly. Every Tuesday, we do a new user orientation that the second half of it is just open Q&A. You can also go to podpage.com/demo and schedule a demo that way. But we, unlike other people that love to put AI between them and their customers, we actually like talking to our customers. We have a lot of great things that have come about because of your suggestions. Here's a quick one. How do I get to Autolink? That is under episodes, and then
no, it's grow. It's under grow SEO.
Oh, that's right.
Right now,
setting the keyword is in your episode. There we go.
Setting the keywords in the episode.
And these are going to get nerdy towards the end of this. This is fun. Here's one. It's interesting. I never thought of that. Feature suggestion: more robust contact form with the ability for listeners to upload files and collaborate on content. we kind of have that already. It's called voicemail if they just want to talk it. But if it's something they've pre-recorded, that would be kind of different. But we'll definitely write that one down. Any thoughts on that one before we move on, Brenden?
No, I would say that it's, I have not heard that in 6 years.
Yeah, that's a new one. That's what I was like,
Yeah,
all right.
I guess I would want to know what I'd want to understand more of what a use case for that would be.
Yeah.
I think I think that question is could be very broad. Like upload files, I get. So it's like, oh, there's things I can, and that's pretty. But collaborate content feels very broad. So
yeah. Support at podpage.com. Give us a little more information on what you plan on doing.
This is a thing that I think users tend to probably solve this themselves by if it's something unique where it's not just like contact us, right? Because I'm imagining this isn't just like contact us and maybe you have a file you want to give us. There's probably more direction where you're like, we're running a campaign and we want to see the fan artwork or something like that, right? That's an example of maybe a time you'd want them to. I think what a lot of people would do in that case is create a custom page for whatever this campaign is, and then embed or attach a Google form or something like that. That's very specific to what you're looking for. So, but maybe if you want to give more context about it.
Yeah. Dave said, wait a minute, where's this Tuesday thing? Go to your help menu. And I forget what the exact wording is, but there are links there to demos, to the Tuesday meeting. You know, there's all sorts of ways to, you can schedule one-on-one consulting there. So there's that. And then Miss Eileen, the one and only Miss Eileen, wants to know if there are going to be any updates to video pages. And when I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, like adding images. So that might be another one where.
Well, video pages should have the same content editor as a blog page or every other page, so that in that content editor, you can add images within that. So I think that you are welcome to, or if you want to ask the question again with more specific, but I think that's already there. It's like a custom page, an episode page, a blog page, a video page. They all have a rich text editor where you can, style your text and also upload images into.
Harry had a question about Autolink. Does each page have to have a focus keyword for this to work?
So again, your pages or your episodes or your blog posts, you can set a focus keyword for that episode. And then that focus keyword is what will be linked throughout the site. So if you don't have focus keywords in there, then there's nothing for us to link to it. Again, imagine a couple steps in the future where we can look at your content and we can say, oh, the focus keyword for this is that, and then we can automatically auto-link it. But yes, so for the time being, yes, you do need that. That's what the feature is. It auto-links the focus keyword that you've set anywhere you've said those words before.
All right. And we've got a few more. If you need to leave, this is being recorded. It'll be on our YouTube channel either today or tomorrow. Again, podpage.com/YouTube. Any plans on being able to build apps for our podcasts?
No.
And that is the correct answer. Is someone who worked for a company that had apps, you want nothing to do with that world. I'm here to tell you, because every time you got it just right, Apple changes, Google changes, there's support from both those people. Like, no, and you already have an app. It's called Apple, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Cast,
Yeah.
And if you want, you can use Supercast for that, or Patreon, which we integrate with both of those.
Okay, so Dave has a little PTSD off of this.
A lot.
The reason I said no so quickly is because I think in general, most podcasts, creators, all that are better off using an open platform like the web than an app. Like to make an app work, you really need some people to download the app, and it's a hard sell. I do think there is services that should build apps for large creators that have built large businesses, which could be you. And that is something like Circle. or I think Heartbeat might do it too.
Mhm.
These like membership platforms. Podpage is not a membership platform. We don't take money from your listeners and give it to you. But if you do, if that's what you're looking for, I think that some of these, it's not inexpensive, but it is possible to have Circle and some of these other ones build you an app that, and then you can make money off of it to help pay for the enormous fees that you get charged for making these apps. So I know there's like, there's a million apps in the App Store. I was around in the music phase where, I forget what the company was called, Mobile Roadie, I think. I was in the music industry, and there was a company that made apps for musicians because all the musicians wanted their own app because that was the hot thing, and no one downloaded it. Right? It's hard enough to get people to download your podcast episodes. And then to get someone to download an app, it's like you have to have a big community. If you have a big community, I would recommend looking into these like Circle and Heartbeat type platforms because they really do well with getting your community together and chat rooms and like, so there's more in the app. But right now the Podpage app would be, I don't think it'd be worth building. So that's the longer answer to why I said no.
You'd mentioned how we're working on integrations in the future for Heartbeat and Circle. Any plans for something like Mighty Networks?
I think the reason that I don't know if you were watching the demo closely, you could see like there are some things hidden in, there's a few areas of the dashboard that has some, here's the Heartbeat integration. Here's like, it's all here. So you weren't showing it. Well, I was going to say like, Heartbeat API key, import circles. Now we'll have to rotate your API keys because I just showed them to everyone. But, but like you will be able to, it's there. The reason we haven't released it is I want to make sure it's polished, and also questions like that. Like what's the set that we should be doing? I want to feature parity across them. So to make sure each one of them can kind of do the same stuff. So it's not super confusing. I think Mighty is one. I forget. There's a fourth that felt like
school probably seems to be really popular right now.
One of the cool things that Heartbeat doesn't do it, but Circle allows you to do, which I think will be a cool feature for some people. It really, these are the features that get into like there's 10 Podpage users that would use these well. So it's really hard for me to dedicate time to doing them. Man, it's cool. Where you can basically have someone log into Circle and have that unlock features on your Podpage website. So you send, if someone hits like a custom page that you're like, I only want my paid members to see this Podpage custom page, you can say, all right, go to Circle, you log in, it sends you back, and then all the stuff on your website's unlocked because that community member logged into Circle. I don't believe that's something that Heartbeat can do at this point. I would love to like make sure that anything we release is available across the board for the core set. Anyway, but there's some cool stuff. So yeah, Mighty Networks, I'll put that down on the list.
And as we get down to the final three here, they just get nerdier as we go.
Good.
So the programmer stuck around. Any plans for an API access view what is Openclaw? I keep hearing a lot about it and how it's making people millions or something.
I think that's a much different conversation for a longer time. So anyway, Openclaw is just a new way of interacting with AI. Let's just put it that way. It's an open source way of having your own agents that can do things for you when you're not. It's sort of like Podpage Assistant extracted out. So you could have like a marketing assistant that does stuff. The answer is 100% possible, but for our user base at this point, I think it would be premature to do like if you're active, like a CLI or MCP type integration with these different AI agents. It's just probably not worth doing right now. But I would bet by the end of the year, as this stuff progresses, it will be more worth doing.
Yeah, and I asked for more information. He may not be around. He asked this earlier. Morpheus here. I would like to figure out how I can expand Podpage a bit using Claude Code CLI, to which we're always first. Like, what are you trying to do that we don't do? Because in some cases, we'll build it. Yeah. But we're going to need more information on that one. And this is Mark from Podcast Morning Chat and from the Empowered Podcasting Conference. I don't know if this was a joke or not, but he wants to know if you're doing any vibe coding for Podpage these days.
So vibe coding, if the question is, am I using AI to code for Podpage? Absolutely. It's been amazing, because the cool thing is Podpage has been around since 2000. The worst part of Podpage being around since 2000 is the code base has been around since 2000. And so it feels like, I mean, you might have experienced this over the last couple of months. Things are breaking a little bit more because I'm doing some massive fixes, and I'm using AI to do a lot of the massive fixes. It's really hard to make big changes to a platform that's been around this long without these massive rewrites. And those massive rewrites historically have taken a long period of time. So like the navbar nesting, it wasn't like I just added drop downs. I had to rewrite the entire navbar code. And that would have taken me a long time, because it's surprisingly complicated, because the navbar is generated depending on the content that you've turned on, the pages you've turned on, all these settings. With AI, it made it a much simpler process. And so, yes, definitely using AI to write code, which is allowing us to roll out features. It's super helpful in the areas of like the Mighty Networks question, because before it was like, oh, okay, another integration that's going to be X amount of days or weeks to like work with Mighty Network, figure out how they do things. Now AI can connect the dots much, much faster, which is nice. Vibe coding to me is like, I just want to mess around with code and create some stuff, which is amazing. It's harder to vibe code with a huge existing code base, because vibe coding, I think that term tends to be a more casual approach to writing code, where these AI agents and coding agents are amazing, but they still run into issues when they're touching a massive code base like Podpage.
Dave, if you go into, he's asking, where's the Tuesday meeting? Go into the help menu in Podpage, and it's every Tuesday at 2 p.m. if I remember right. And I forget the exact wording under help, but you'll see there. I forget. I think
let me share my screen or go to my screen.
Yeah, let me. And then we got one more question. Thanks for everyone for sticking around. Yeah, webinars. And then you can click on register and be all set to go. That's always fun. I really love the new user orientation, because there are plenty of times there are people in there that are not new users. They just have questions, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
Again, we're not afraid of our customers. We actually like them. And then the last one, I got to throw this in because it's just shameless plug time for Dave. Do you have a list of websites that use Podpage as their exclusive website platform? Well, one, schoolofpodcasting.com, podcastconsultant.com, askthepodcastcoach.com. I haven't done an episode in a while. bestpodcastinggear.com. There's a bunch, but schoolofpodcasting.com is, because again, if we look at schoolofpodcasting.com, I'm using Heartbeat. So when you click on join, you go over to Heartbeat's website. We integrate with those things, or we can easily link to them. So anything that we don't do, you can just link to. And in some cases, akronpodcast.com/events shows an events calendar that may be coming in the future. But right now, I use a third party to make this events calendar, and I just embed it on a custom page. So we're really Eastern time. Yes, Dave. We're really big on just letting you expand to do whatever you want. We realize we can't be everything to everyone. There is the occasional person that really wants to do some super specific stuff, and we just go, yeah, we don't do that. If you really want that kind of control, then you can get into another platform. But for the most part, everybody seems to love what we're doing. And we thank you so much for sticking around. Brenden, any final words before we
well, just because there was a question about it, I'll throw this up. So here's an example of two things.
Let me put you on here. There we go.
This is the school podcasting site. This is the courses page. And these courses have all been pulled in from Dave's Heartbeat integration. So instead of having to go to Podpage and write all the stuff. So what's cool about this, well, there's two things. One, you don't have to do anything. But two, both on Heartbeat and Circle, I think I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. They don't really they're very locked into, like, you have to sign in and be part of the community for access to anything, to see anything, right? And so if you go to like a course if Dave shared a link to a course for Heartbeat and you went to that link, but you weren't a member, you just get pushed over to the become a member thing. You don't learn about what the course is, and you have to sort of like join to learn about the course. So what this means is there's no public identity for these courses on these different platforms. But with Podpage, when you import them, suddenly obviously there's a big list. Google can index the courses. This is not something that happens on these different platforms. I think Circle now has like a public page, but I haven't really looked at it. Like a website builder. It's not very good. But now, like, okay, planning your podcast. This is one of Dave's courses. He's never been able to link to this ever because it's been hidden behind Heartbeat. Now you can go and there's a whole page for planning your podcast. Oh, here's the built-in GDPR banner.
Yeah.
There's a whole page for the course, right? And this is just stuff we've imported. These are all the lessons in the course. This is the info. And then if you want to view course, I'm not sure this tab instead. Then you get pushed over to Heartbeat and it links into the Heartbeat thing. So this is all stuff that just automatically now happens. So now, for the first time ever, Dave and any of the creators on these platforms will have a public area for this stuff that even though the person can't get access to the course, they can learn about it and Google can learn about it. And again, SEO, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, these are the kind of things we're trying to make this really easy.
Yeah. We have a new customer, Dave's Fit Life. He says, I'm going to sign up today. So thanks, Dave. Thanks for showing up. Anything else, Brenden, before we hit the end stream button?
No, I've taken a lot of notes. Whoever mentioned Rumble, send us information on what like integration looks like, because obviously we'd love to support more platforms like that. Dave, we should add to the deck just for next time, like a links page that shows like, go to /demo for demo, go to /orientation.
Oh, yeah.
For everyone. This is how we're going to, this is a really, between this and the support tickets, this is the best way for us to learn what you all want and the questions you have. And so I'm excited to do this on a monthly basis. So if you have any suggestions for us, you can write Dave at Podpage, Brenden at Podpage. If you have any suggestions for us around this format, would also be great. But hopefully this has been helpful.
Yeah.
Tell your friends. We grow. We don't really do any advertising or anything. We occasionally try to support James Cridlin with Pod News, but we don't really have marketing. The way that we've always grown is just word of mouth. So if you have friends with podcasts, please pass the word along. And if you want to make money off of it, we have an affiliate program.
Dave is asking for a coupon. Do you have one off the top of your head?
If you sign up, you'll see a coupon listed at the top of the page.
Okay, beautiful. I didn't know there was one of the. Perfect. All right, y'all. Well, as you said, any questions, just email support@podpage.com. We'll be happy to hear any future ideas. Thanks again for your time. And again, we'll be doing these on a monthly basis. This is fun. So take care.